Welcome back to my channel, everyone. If you are new, my name is Lily from lilyarter.com, and this is where I like to share my DIYs. Okay, jumping into this video, we're gonna be talking about dollar store DIYs. But before we jump into this, I wanna say thank you to each and every one of you for taking the time out to love on my channel and support my channel. I remember starting my channel and hoping for it to grow and wishing I had at least 5,000 subscribers, and this channel has blown my mind because we hit 45,000 subscribers last week and I am just taken away. Thank you so much, you guys. Okay, let's jump into these DIYs. The past couple of weeks, I have been watching Justin Ray's YouTube channel, and he's been posting Bohemian dollar store DIYs that have really inspired me to make my own dollar store DIYs. I'll be sharing 3 dollar store DIYs in this video. The first one, which has been brewing in my head for a while, but I never got around to doing it, was transforming a dollar store mop. I don't know why this has been sitting in my head for the past couple of years, and I finally got to try it. So I'll be sharing that with you. The second DIY that I did was a cute little erase board for my office because I need daily reminders, and I have a horrible habit of writing notes on my hand because I'm a visual person and I need to see it to remember it. So I tried to find a cuter way to do it. The third DIY is transforming dollar store frames into faux wood frames. So I wanted to do a gallery wall behind my couch, and I wanted the frames to match my barn doors. If you watched my video last week, you probably saw how we made our barn doors, but I couldn't find any frames anywhere that matched my barn doors. So I had to make it work with dollar store frames. The pictures for these frames did not come in yet, so I was not able to hang up my gallery wall, but I do post all of these DIYs on my blog, so I'll add links down below and I'll update the pictures on my blog post once the pictures come in and I hang up the gallery wall. Okay, let's get started. Okay, real quick, before I jump in, I do want to mention not all of these supplies were from the dollar store. I did end up sneaking in some beads that I bought at the craft store, but I still tried to keep it budget friendly. All of these projects cost me between $2 and $8 to make. So it was actually really budget friendly and just what I could afford at the moment. Okay, let's start with this pillow first. This was my first dollar store mop transformation ever. I also picked up this canvas toe at my local dollar store, which worked perfect as a pillow cover. I started off by removing this plastic piece in the center of the mop. It should pop right off when you try and pry it. It actually comes off real easy. I then cut off the handle on the toe and started making the fringe. I really wanted to add some beads to the pillow, but I couldn't find any simple wood beads at the dollar store. They actually did carry some super cute colored ones if you want to add colored ones. I picked these beads up at Joann's. They were $5 and I used my 40% off coupon. They ended up costing me around $3. So in total, this pillow cost me around $8. I wanted my fringe to sit in a V shape on my pillow, so I started off by creating a braid. I used 3 strands of rope from the mop and I taped it at the top to my table. This made it so much easier to work with and braid the braid. To attach my braid to the pillow, I just used a needle and thread and base stitched it to the case. Okay, now to make the fringe, I pulled 1 string off the mop and separated it until it was thin enough to feed the beads onto. I actually eventually ended up switching this string out for something stronger because it just kept tearing so easy. I then applied tape on the end so the edges don't start fraying as I start feeding the beads onto it. I alternated between 1 bead and 1 piece of strand from the mop. So to attach my strand from the mop, I folded it in half and lay it behind the string, and it created like a loop. I then fed the tails through the loop and pulled it through. To secure it, I just tightened it by holding onto the tails and pushed the knot up. I hope this makes sense. I did this until the full length of the string was filled with fringe and beads, and that's it. Next, I laid the fringe next to my braid and stitched it with the needle and thread as well. For me not to sew through both layers of fabric, I used a piece of cardboard that I stuck inside to avoid stitching through both layers. After attaching the bottom half of the fringe, I trimmed it and went on to attaching the top section of the fringe the same way. After thinking it over, I decided to trim both the top and bottom to give it a cleaner look. I don't know why, it just kept looking like a wig to me. Okay, next I stuffed my pillow with some leftover pillow stuffing and stitched it up with a needle and thread, and that's it. I love Bohemian decor. This turned out way cuter than expected. I can't tell you how many times I was questioning this idea while I was making it. I literally almost gave up. I should warn you, this mop sheds like crazy. It is almost unbearable. I know the dollar store sells yarn, and if I was to do this again, I would definitely go for the yarn. I went with the mop because I love the color of the string on the mop, and I figured it would be more bohemian. Also, I love the beads, and feel like they make this pillow. Okay, for my next DIY, I made this cute little erase board from a luau skirt and a dollar store frame. I first lightly ironed a handful of these strands from the luau skirt. This took me about 10 to 15 minutes. I then taped a row of strands from the luau skirt, measuring the full width of the frame. Now you can start weaving strands in between. I attached a safety pin to each strand and weaved it throughout the vertical strands until it was big enough to cover the glass of the frame. This was actually a little bit time consuming. I just did it while watching my show, so it kind of went by fast. Because the coloring on the weave was so light and I wanted to kind of darken it a little, I ended up watering down some acrylic paint and painted it over to bring in more color. Once it was dry, I flipped it over and taped all four sides to keep the weave from coming apart. I then marked the size of my glass onto a foam dollar store board and cut it to size. I hot glued the weave onto the foam board and prepped my glass from the dollar store. To outline and cover sharp edges, I applied some electrical tape to all four sides. Then I trimmed the fringe on my weave and added a few more pieces to the corners with some hot glue. And to finish it off, I glued my glass onto the weave from the board, and that's it. Okay, so to hang it onto the wall, I tried out something different this time. I tried this Scotch mounting putty for the first time to avoid making holes in the wall. I'm not entirely sure if I used it correctly because it didn't last long. It actually fell off the next day, so I guess I'll have to make holes to hang it. I love how this erase board turned out. This is probably the cutest one I've ever owned. I was worried it might be a little bit too small, but honestly, it's perfect. I add quick daily notes and reminders and favorite quotes to it. Also, that fringe is so stinking cute. I love how bohemian it looks. Okay, for my last DIY, I turned simple dollar store frames into faux wood looking frames. This technique took me about 12 tries to figure out, but once I got it, it was super easy. I started off by slightly sanding down the frame so the paint actually adheres to it. I then applied some acrylic paint that matched the base color of my wooden doors that I was trying to match to. Once this was dry, I grabbed a hard bristle brush and dipped it into some brown and burnt umber paint. And you can actually dilute it with water a little bit if you'd like, but I find it worked better if it was dry. I rubbed the paint off a bit onto some paper and gently rubbed the remaining paint on the paintbrush onto the frame. I noticed it gives a more realistic faux wood effect if you do longer strokes versus small, short ones. If you apply too much strokes onto it, just grab a damp paper towel and rub it off. The wood effect won't completely come off, but it's usually enough to even out the area. And that's it. It was super easy to make, and I love that this cost a little over $1 to make, so much better than having to buy expensive frames and still having to match them to what I need. I can't wait for my pictures to come in now. Okay, that's it for this video. Would I do these DIYs again? Yes, I love how the frames turned out, and I love the little dry erase board. I think even just leaving it in a dollar store frame and adding fabric as the background would be super cute too. However, I would never do a dollar store mop DIY again. Unless, of course, I'm washing floors with it. I don't think I'm going to be doing any more dollar store mop transformations because it was so messy and fluffy. I had to wear my face mask inside the house, and that is not a good sign. But hey, you know, now I know. I've tried it. I've wanted to try it for a long time, so now I know. Never do that to dollar store mop again. Yeah. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you aren't subscribed, don't forget to subscribe. I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye.